I was 16 years old, I made this exact risotto as a special at a restaurant that I worked at. And since then, this risotto has become a fall favorite of my wife and I ever since. Today, we're going to take the skills that I learned working at Michelin-star restaurants in the Culinary Institute of America and make a simple yet refined risotto. If that sounds like something you're into, subscribe. Full recipes on my website, linked in the description. To start, we're going to take the pumpkins and we're going to just cut off the top. We should have just enough so that there's a little tiny hat. And then we're going to take a bowl. We'll scoop out all the seeds. These seeds are delicious, and I'm going to have a recipe coming up on how to make pumpkin seeds. So once we have everything cleaned up, if there's any pieces of pumpkin that were large that got cut off, I'll just put them in the bottom so that we can use them. We'll lay these pumpkins on a sheet tray. I like to keep them with the matching tops. Then we got sage. We're gonna take off the little tiny leaves we're gonna use for garnish, and the larger leaves we are going to stuff into the pumpkins. So take a couple leaves, throw them in the pumpkins. Then we're gonna put a little knob of butter in them. A little bit of salt, and I like to use white pepper. When we make the puree, you don't see it in there. Place your tops on, place them in a 350-degree oven. Pulled our pumpkins out. They were in there for about 20-25 minutes. You'll know they're ready when they're pierced by a knife. Super tender. So I'm just gonna take a spoon, remove the sage leaves. It smells so good. With a spoon, just gonna go around and release all the pumpkin. You wanna make sure that you still keep a shell so that we can stuff these later, but we're gonna get out as much of the pumpkin as we can. I just have a sieve and another bowl. We're gonna put that right here. So you're gonna pass all the way through. There's gonna be a little bit left. It's gonna be like the fibers of the pumpkin, but you should be able to pass 99% of it. And that's how you make pumpkin puree. So we're gonna give it a little taste, a little under seasoned. So we're just gonna mix in a little pinch of salt. Make the brown butter sage. We're gonna add some butter. We're gonna cook out all our water. Bubbles are gonna start to cease. We're gonna throw in our sage. Once you get to about this stage where you can see it's starting to get brown, pull out your sage. It should be nice and crispy. And as they dry off, they will get even crispier. Pour this into a bowl so it can cool off. The thing that I normally have a lot on hand are Parmesan rind. These things are great to have on hand, add to soups and stocks. They add tons of umami to your cooking. And one thing that they are particularly great in is risotto. So I have my chicken stock right here. We're just gonna put a couple of rinds in there. We're gonna bring this guy up to a simmer. While that is heating up, we have one shallot. You can use regular onions, but shallot's flavor is a lot more precise and refined than onions. So in dishes like this, I really like to use shallots, but white onion or yellow onion work fine. We want to have a fine dice on this just because this is going to be in the finished product. A cup so I can put this off to the side, and then 2 cloves of garlic. And then give that a mince. Add those in with your shallot. And we need about 2 ounces of butter. Butter, about equal parts extra virgin olive oil. Once it's nice and translucent, we're gonna add a couple threads of saffron. Completely optional, but this just adds a nice flavor with the pumpkin, and it brings out that nice pumpkin color. Once these guys are nice and toasted, we're gonna add 8 ounces of our bouillon rice. There's a couple other different risotto options, but arborio is always really easy to find. Now we're just gonna toast the grains. This is going to help bring out a nicer flavor in the rice, and it's also gonna help it absorb the liquid.
Add in some white wine and cook till all sec.
So you know that your rice is all sec when you're able to part it and it stays there. We're gonna add a little bit more salt. Every time you add an ingredient to a pan, white wine included, you wanna add a little bit of salt to help bring out that flavor. We're gonna add a little bit of stock at a time. I like to do it so that the rice is about halfway covered. And the important part is that you continue to stir. This is what's gonna develop the starch and give the rice a nice body. And you wanna always use a wooden spoon. You don't wanna use metal, because metal will break the rice up. Once you can part the C, and it's gonna hold, which it's not doing, that's when you know it's time to add more liquid in. So we're gonna keep on going a little bit, and then we're gonna add some more. Part the C, it's holding, so we're gonna add a little bit more stock in. Make sure you don't add any of that Parmesan rind in. This is done. When I take a bite, it still has texture. It doesn't get stuck in your teeth. What we want is it to be liquid. It needs to be like a wave where it flows in the pan. Add just a little bit of the brown butter. The risotto with just the saffron in it already is a great risotto. You can eat it just like that. We're just gonna take it up to the next level. So we have 5 ounces right here. You're not gonna use all the pumpkin that you have. You can save it for something else. And the last thing, we're gonna add 2 ounces of Parmigiano Reggiano, weighed it out on a scale. Risotto has to be nice and creamy. That's from the starch. Also, the pumpkin helps add some of that creaminess, but it has to look like it flows. Always taste your food. It has a nice flavor of pumpkin. You can taste a little bit of the saffron still. It has some of the white wine. A little bit of the sage is coming through. I'm gonna add a little bit of white pepper. To plate this up, you want to tap the bottom of the plate. That's gonna help the risotto lay. We have a little bit of the brown butter, a little bit more Parmesan, and then some of our fried sage. If you want to see some other fall favorites, check out these videos.